All right, good evening, everyone. Let's get going today. How's everybody doing? I see a ton of people out there already. Badzilla, thank you for the host, and KW for moderating as usual. And Memolar, nice to see you there. Well, it's been a pretty busy weekend for me. If you haven't heard already, the Multifruit script came out, and thank you, Caroluna, for the host as well. So we got the Multifruit script, and it's challenging to say the least, especially when you get a release that doesn't work. But I kind of end up doing things my own way, and we'll get into that a little bit later. We'll show you what else I've been working on. A ton of scripts came out. Yeah, KW. I've seen the Milk Trigger script is out as well. We also got and I haven't been able to download it yet. Big Daddy's going to give it a try for me during this, but the fabric script has been released as well. So been a busy weekend. The sawmill with the fabric script we used quite a bit with all the different uh, things on our maps in the past. So I think that it's really coming along, and now I got to do a lot of catching up. So what we're going to start today is with the Multifruit script. Show you what we've got working so far. Fruit types of sugarcane are in the map, as well as the oat and rye. And what's kind of cool is that you have multiple pages so that you can always see what your fruit types are on the map and the growth stages that they're in for all the different fruits. And let's see what else we got here. It's pretty cool. So we'll take a look at a few things that I've been up to. Everything about the Multifruit so far I've got working error free. It took a long time, and I kind of reconstructed it a little bit, so the way I am doing it is actually going to be a lot cleaner in the long run, but it's a little bit more time consuming than just trying to get the pieces that they want. Now, what I have on the right here is not exactly the color finale of the new sugarcane texture. I want it to be a little bit lighter, but still being worked on. And I will show you that we can start a mission here with the corn texture or the sugarcane texture, and I changed it so that it uses a corn header now instead of the old header as well. And I also changed the whole entire graphics so that the stages of growth represent more like the corn growth stages do. Let's see, open up the combine first. And the particle systems and everything have been put in, and it's actually amazing how many different things the new Multifruit script. Now I'm still working on the header particle. For some reason, they're working fine there. You can see them going through the header. It's kind of cool. Maybe I fixed it. Sometimes if the combine gets a little askew or something, the header will just skip spots. I don't know if I can get it to do it now. I think I actually got it with my last update. Oh, you know what? It might be just the head I was using because this is a different combine. So you can see that the header has actually got the animations of the sugarcane being sucked into the combine there, which is actually pretty awesome this year. We'll be able to do that, as well as the grain planes and the tipping anywhere function as well for all the fruit types is on the map as well. So a little later I think we're going to look at getting some sorghum into the map, but we'll give you an idea of right now. Oh crap, that's right, I'm in a mission, so that isn't going to work. We'll leave the field anyway. Get back to my pickup truck. It does tip anywhere. All the fruit types tip anywhere. You can pretty much add the... Oh, mission failed. Oh, shame on me. You can pretty much add the windrow to anything pretty easily too if you wish to do that, which I did not do for sugarcane, but will be doing for well, oat and rye, I think have it. I just used the default because that's what came with the Multifruit script. Haven't tested them yet, but they look good. All the missions work on all of them. You can have them on starting fields like you did there, the sugar cane. I think down here there might be an oat or a rye field somewhere. Not 100% sure, but I'm going to take you outside the map to show you the area that we were working on the other day and give you an idea of the other stuff that I did kind of squeeze in here today and a little bit yesterday after I figured out the Multifruit script stuff. You will notice quite a bit of change, not all done up here along the side, definitely not finished, but you will see that there's going to be a lot more details to the terrain, including some new mountains to break the landscape up. As we go through here, we'll start down this side with the farm that you all know is down here, and the trees, I've only done 2 layers through the trees. There's another couple that I want to get through, so it'll be a little bit thicker where all those trees are down there as well. Let's take this off so you get a little bit better view. But you'll see I'm bringing in some mountains, just making you kind of have to use the roads a little bit more. Lots of fields. Hey Cyber, how's it going? And it's really coming together with the way I'm pretty pleased with it. I hope you guys like it too. So we'll start off on this side. You can go all the way down if you don't wipe out in the middle of the field, and you'll see that for this farm there are several fields stretching, and there are some large fields and relatively flat, but there's quite a bit of terrain, an open space in the middle there that I will be doing something at some point. But there are some huge fields down this side of the map, and a couple smaller ones as well. There will be some more details added in as we go on, but my main focus, as I was saying before, is the yes, S7. I've got both of them, and we do have Multifruit in the map. Yeah, my main focus right now is getting those fruits in and getting all the trees and grass planted and getting these farms in shape so we can get a copy on our server. No problem. No problem at all. So we've got the barn up here. I don't know if that was here last time. Sometimes I get confused. But we've got the barn and some trees and details. More to come on the trees on these mountains as the farm. And I had to move that pathway, the driveway to the house up here, which I did as well. So you can park your car up in the driveway of the garage on this nice little farm up here. And we also have several fields down this side of the map that are done. No, actually it wasn't there. I've been following it. Last stream it was not up. It was in the works, and even when I got the first version it was still buggy as could be for the script. So it hasn't been there too long, but we finally over the weekend got it worked out. And it's working with no errors in the log right now. So the lake's got a little bit of sand around the edges as well. Another lake built into the map. We did that as well, but I just finishing touches a little bit. And this whole mountain range that comes in on this side kind of separates you from the other side. A lot of undone terrain because I haven't figured out exactly, what I want to do around the lake yet. I have to have room for all the new... Oh, it's talking about the barn. It might have been in there. That one might have been in there for the past 3 streams, that's for sure. I can't remember. I've been working on this farm for quite a while. So, yeah, this side, that is pretty much where I've been working quite a bit. We've got a long way to go. But tonight we're going to... Yeah, we got a little road that comes through the tunnel near the mountain's edge here, which is kind of neat. That will lead you over to the field under the bridge. And there will be something along here for sure in this area Just not sure what yet. We'll see when we get there. But you can see the terrain is definitely going to start taking more shape as we go around and finish off the first round of these areas. Yeah. I wanted to make people make their own fields. But what we're doing here, I want to have fields here. Because it just makes it better. If you have starter fields for everything, then you can have the missions and everything. But one of the things that I am doing is allowing you guys and putting into the map several areas, and I added a couple more, where if you do decide to remove the field that's there, and they're unmarked fields per se, we'll take a look at them, you can return the texture to the dirt. I've shown you that already in the past 2 episodes, but I'll show you a little bit more on where the areas are on this farm, as well as how big they are. And then we'll get into seeing if we can add a sorghum into the map for tonight's demonstration right from the beginning. If we can pull it off, who knows? It's a challenge. Might even take 2 broadcasts to get that part done. But so as I was saying, on this farm, there are going to be a ton of trees here as well. But again, if you notice, this whole section has the darker dirt underneath it. So if you decided to remove these trees, you can actually build roads and open up more of this area right through here for building onto your farm and extending it outward. This whole area that's right in here. As well as up on top of the hill, when you come up here, everything that's on this side of the road, right through to the back end of the barn, all the way down the side here, is able to be trees cut down. You can just mow the grass. You could even fertilize it after you cut the trees if you want it to stay a grass field. But you can start building your own little road up here. I got a couple of different ways to get up here. And there's the other one right there. And just start creating your own little areas for your greenhouses or whatever you decide to bring up here. And that goes down here as well along this side of the road. So you might want to put some vehicle sheds. But you can literally cut out anywhere you want down this side of the map. And you'll have a dirt texture underneath if you use that roller all the way down to right here. So there's going to be a lot of area that is set up like that, which with all the multiple BGAs, with all the multiple BGAs on the map, there's a lot of grass that can be fertilized from the start. They're fields, but they're not going to be marked as fields, so you don't have to buy them. But you will have to clear the trees if you want the trees and you want to get access to them. Or you could just leave them in as decorative fields as well. And I believe down here on this side, did I do this side? I can't remember. No, I did not. Down here is just a big area where some trees will stay there for decoration. All right, let me see if I can find a couple of the other field types on the map that have a couple of the fruits. Why does none show on the mini-map? These fields are not marked yet. They will appear once I mark them. I'm right now laying them out. Thing is, as when I mark the fields, we marked one last episode, I want to make sure I have all the fields in so the numbers kind of make sense and they're not. I always end up with that one field that's number 57 next to field 102 or something, and they get so out of whack. So I'm trying to get all the fields in first, and then I'll go around the whole map and mark them so that they're kind of wrapped right around the map in an order, so that all the different farms have their chunks of fields in the same number range, basically. And then the numbers will appear on the map, and then once they're in, we can actually draw the first mini-map as well. We'll take some pictures and get an idea of the overview of the mini-map. Now if I could find my way back out of here, which is always a trick, because it's getting to be quite the traveling. You know, you got to weave around. You can see there's a ton of room left, and I already have so many huge fields, but it looks like we're going to have to bring in some factories and stuff pretty soon, so we're going to leave that, quite a bit of it, open for now. And again, a lot of the mountain ranges I'm putting in is because I can easily level those and take them out, clean them off, and then from the trees, and then bring in, use that space if we need parts of that space later on, if we need for more factories or whatever we bring into the map. And the tunnel on this side isn't quite finished, but it will be. I know the alerts aren't working again tonight. I apologize if I got any new followers or donations or subscribers. It's darn thing. I tried to work on that for the 20 minutes prior to the show, and I don't know what they're doing. I do the test alerts, nothing comes up. But I do appreciate it. And if I miss anything, I apologize. So let's see if we can find over here one of the other field types. Actually, we could pull up the map. And not that map. This map. And we can find that on oat and rye, let's see, 11 and 24, 25. Well, we're almost 224. Which was literally just across the street. And is not actually, well, we'll fast forward time and see if we can get that thing to grow a little bit. And 11, let's head over to 11. I want to do a test, see if they have windrow. Might as well while we're here. They should. Although I'd probably have to bring my own harvester. I don't think you can do windrow if it's not. Yeah, it won't let you turn it on in mission. So maybe we'll figure that out later. Field 11. I hope they're not bugged. They should grow. I don't see anything on those fields. That's interesting, to say the least, because they were there before. 25. Let's check out 25. That would really be disappointing, but I think I might know. Well, let's check the error log. Make sure everything. I did have them harvesting before. Yeah, we've got additional fruit types running with no errors. So that is not the issue. Something else might be if I don't start seeing something pop up on those fields. Whoa, my zoom is all messed up now on my truck. Because I zoomed in. So let's go back to the other one, see if anything sprouted yet. They did do an update on the original script to 1.03. Was the last version that I do have, and it did fix the issues. But for some reason, I don't know if those crops are going to show up on the fields, even though it says they are. Interesting. We might have to work on that. Sugarcane is showing up, which is the one I did myself. It would be nice if one of them would pop up while we're fast forwarding here so I could see what's going on, but it is mission, let me see, 11 and 24, 25 and 10 are the only other two. Let's see if we could take a swing down by 25 and see if that one's showing up. If not, then I'm going to have to figure something out. And we'll just take a look at it a little better while we're adding sorghum and make sure all the steps are in place. Rest in peace sign. Yeah, I mow down a lot of signs, that's for sure. So 25, do you have anything growing on you? I believe it does. So something, maybe the mission is just not working, but we definitely have on 25 here some growing. What do we have? Does it say in here? Edward Gomez owns it. That is either the odor of the rye 25. Let's take a look. Is rye planted over here on 25. And it's growing up, so that one's working. The other ones might just be one of those in-between states as it cycles through the missions. And I just mowed over another sign. Hey, I'm going to take that one with me. That's pretty awesome. What was the other field number that has stuff on it? It is number 10, straight ahead. Number 10 should have oat growing on it, which it does. So they are growing, which is a good sign. We don't have to worry about that right now. Anybody need a stop sign? I've got it in the back of my pickup. The cops are going to be after me. All right, let's get out of here. Yeah, we've got a lot more bushes and stuff. I want the trees and everything around the other areas to look as full as it is in here eventually. So when you're driving down, you know, it really is one big cohesive map. There we go. It is yeah, it's growing over there. There goes my sign. Lost my sign, but it's getting dark in here, but we could see that my rye is ready for harvest. How about that? So it is working. No need to worry about that. Let's get into lesson time and do a little multifruit stuff. Alright, so what I'm going to do is first we have to get some information from one of the multifruit maps that we've had in the past, which will be, if I can find it here, in my PV17 files. The rivers map, I am going to go to PV Rivers and, as I usually do, steal everything. So, going to open up the map01 i3D in Notepad++. To grab some info from it, if it ever opens up. This i3D takes a little while. It's much bigger than the others. Zakonex1, thank you for the host. I could see him in the little bar if I could only blow it up a little bit on my screen. Alright, so we are here in my map, and we have all these fruit types. If you type in foliage foliage sublayer in the search, right there, you will bring you to where all the foliage sublayers are and all the fruit types that I had in the PV Rivers map. And if you want to take them out of the PV Rivers map for your own little use, just click on the link down below for PV Rivers and get a copy. They're there. We're going to grab, for starters here, the sorghum, which is this one right here. I'm going to copy that line. And let me delete some tabs here so it'll be a little bit easier. I know that Big Daddy does a split screen, but I like to switch back and forth myself. So let's grab the map we're working on as well, which is, I had to move the folder. Because one of the things you might want to note is that if you have a multi-fruit map in, it will register the fruits and just cause lots of errors on another map if the map is in your folder. It's just the way it works. So I set up a new folder with just the Pleasant Valley 17 map in it. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to open up the map 01i3D and edit it with Notepad. Alright. We're going to search for the foliage sublayer, which is already in there. And you'll see I have them right here. So I'm going to just make a space. Again, I'm going to just copy in the line from the other file, my old map, and we're going to compare things and go across and fix it so that everything is where it needs to be. You'll see the first thing is we have the density map index numbers are all incremental, and we left off at 15 with rye, so the new one here I'm going to have to just do one more and make it 16. Make sure your density map channel offset numbers match. If you haven't upped your channels, you want to do that so at the beginning by adding two. Basically, this is set up for a 64 number field type map. Number channels is 11 and the number of index channels is at 6. And we're just going to make sure all the numbers, so all the 6s for the density map channel offset, and the number of density map channels are all set to 4, which is correct on my sorghum. And we need to set the material IDs. So I'm going to jump over into the other map, and you'll see that it has a material ID of 1918. I'm going to do a search for that material. I'm just going to highlight the number, click find, and going upwards, direction up, it'll bring me right up to the sorghum material, which is right here. I'm going to copy everything for that material and bring it over to this file. And if you just go up a little bit here, let's close this, up a little bit from the current foliage sublayer, you'll get to the bottom of the materials section, which is right there. Just only took one click. And we're going to throw that material in here. Again, index numbers are crucial to this whole thing. File IDs, everything. So I'm going to take that material ID right here. You don't want to have one that's already pre-existing, and what I like to do is just throw like a 100 in front of it or something to make it a number that definitely is not in the map right now. So the material ID with the 100 1918, and let's go back down to my new sorghum and make sure this one matches as well. So that is that, but we got to take a look while we're at that place at the material itself. Sorghum material, the material number is now correct. There's a custom shader ID of 72. These don't match from map to map, but the 72 in the old map will point to your foliage shader, and all you got to do is search for, you can go through and try to find it, but let's see if we can do a search, find, I'm going to look for, what the heck is it called? I'm drawing a blank. But, well, we can do this. Wheat. I think it's wheat underscore mat, and go up, and we will see that is not it. Material ID 85. Foliage wheat mat has a custom shader of 49. Now that we know that this map is 49, I'm going to grab that, and we can find, just for reference so we know later on exactly what the You'll see that it's on all of those same type materials, custom shader 49. And let's go back down. It is the fruit growth foliage shader. So if you wanted to just search for fruit growth foliage shader and find the file ID number, you'll see that's where the 49 is. So we need to change down in our material section at the bottom where I just pasted that new material. Whoops, I went past it. Where are you, Mr. Material? Come on, I thought, there we go. This customized shader ID to 49, so it has the right foliage shader. Next, we need a texture file ID. And we can look in the map, the old map, and do a quick search on this file ID 128. We'll just copy that and throw that up in here. And I grab the quotes when it's a file ID just because, or at least one of them. As I'm searching upward, it will find it. Yeah, usually sometimes have to skip through a bunch of them. Well, it's going to make me go through all because all the cost powers are 128. But once we get past up to the file section, we can find out, and I must have passed it. Let's go back down. 128 is right here, and you'll see a whole group of textures that are textures foliage sorghum diffuse.png, and then we got the sorghum distance 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 files. So we're going to need to get those files. We'll start with the foliage sorghum diffuse from the old map, the FS15 map. Rivers, PV rivers in the textures, foliage. We need to have the sorghum diffuse file, which is right alphabetically in here, right here, sorghum diffuse. We're going to copy that one over into my PV17 foliage. Let's see, where do we want to put it? Sometimes they get in a couple of textures. Nope, that's where distance texture. Alright, yeah, we're going to put it in textures foliage right here with the oat and rye texture. I'm wondering if that's where did I have the other one? Give me a minute, I'm thinking. I'd rather have it where I think I have them in another spot. Oh, there they are, foliage. Alright, it's just in a folder. We're going to paste it into that one, into the PV17 foliage folder, where all the other ones are. So we have our sorghum file right in there. Also, we need to grab our sorghum distance diffuse files from this map as well, which are those right there. And copy those, and then we're going to go into and find where those are as well. So that one is in the PV Pleasant Valley PV17 maps, textures, terrain distance. There they are. We're going to paste all those into here, so we have all those available as well. Once you have all the files copied in, it's back to work, back to the other part. So over to our map, we're going to grab this file ID for the textures. We're going to throw 100, 128, just so it's not duplicating anything. And we're going to go and grab from, well, basically we need to just make sure you get a path where all the other right here, for instance, all the other foliage diffuse, if you just copy one of any of the foliage diffuse, I'm going to grab that's in the same folder, the same path, and we're going to just copy that line down below. It's a quick way to do it and get it right. And then we got to change this to that 100128, and it is sorghum diffuse, SORGHUM. Just make sure you have the proper file name that you're pointing to. So sorghum underscore diffuse should be what it is. Actually, we should close this map down because it's going to mess things up if we don't. Alright, so we have that one in there. And now all the distance textures, which we had, I'm going to grab the distance texture lines here. Actually, it's called foliage sorghum. Yeah, so it was all of these right here. Foliage sorghum distance diffuse. Gonna grab all of these lines. Put them underneath here. Make sure textures foliage. It's actually called foliage sorghum diffuse. Make sure we have that right. I don't need duplicates of that line. I'm going to throw in 100s in front of each of these numbers as well, so we know that they're not going to be duplicated. PJevs, how you doing? Yeah, donations alerts aren't working. I really apologize. I do see that we did get one from PJevs. 03, $25 on the little bar down there. Thank you so much. You know how much I appreciate it. So I'm going to just up these numbers by 100 so they're all unique, and then just let's get that path so it's pointing to the new files, which are in our textures terrain distance. So it's textures terrain distance is the folder path. We can compare it, make sure we get it exactly like we have up above. Let's see. I'm going to find one that matches right there. Yeah, path's going to be textures, terrain, distance, slash, and then the name. We'll copy that down here. I always like to make sure, because sometimes, you know, these little backslashes that point you to a level up and stuff gets kind of confusing, so I'm just gonna paste that, and then it'll lead us right to each of these files if we have it right, which is always a question in my mind. I often mess this stuff up, so if you do too, don't feel bad. There's so much detail that has to be remembered here. It's easy to, even almost like I just did there, I almost copied out the F in foliage and then it wouldn't work. Alright, so we have those all there with their new numbers. That now we can go back to the materials, and it's a constant up and down the list to make sure you get everything. Once you complete a task, go to the previous step and see if there's anything else that we need to link up to the materials. The alpha blend and the frequency auto scale are just fine. So that would mean the material actually is completely done the way it should be, with the custom shader, its new number, the new texture file ID. So we can now go back down to the foliage sublayer line and continue on, finishing up past the material ID, which we just finished. Cell size 8 is completely fine. All the other ones match. View distance of 80. The object mask has changed. It's always the same for all the fruits, but my map has a different object mask, so we're just going to copy the one right above it, and we're going to copy that and paste it in for the object mask of the sorghum. That is done. the distance map IDs. Now, interesting thing about here, if you remember correctly, we copied in the 123, 24, 25, 26, and 27, but the 65 points to a different file that we didn't copy. So I got to find out what that 65 is in this map by just searching for it. We'll just do in quotes the 65 and file ID. Go up to the files, there it is. It's the acre fine distance diffuse.png. So let's just copy that over here and go into this map and find out what its number is. 122. So once we know what that number is, we can go back down to the foliage sublayer, or even just type sorghum and we'll get there eventually. There it is. And it was 122. So we'll change that 65 to the 122 so it points to the same type file. And you remember all the other ones that we did copy in the map, we added a 100 in front of them, so it'd be 100, 100 in front of the 124, 100 and 125, 100 and 100. And we'll keep going on. And let's take a look at some of the other things here. Everything has this distance map layers in here. And they're always set to 1. So we're going to just copy that down in front of the unit sizes as well. Make sure we get the distance map layers. And then we have the atlas size. They're a little bit out of order, but the atlas size is right. Atlas offset. What we have in here is the distance map unit sizes. And I don't know if that's necessary. That is probably replaced the previous, because I'm not seeing it anywhere. So I'm going to get rid of this distance map unit sizes section. Whoops, if I can. And we always have the other map to go back to. Oh, come on. Be nice to me here, Mr. If something's not working, we'll check it out, but I do not believe we need those anymore. Distance map unit size. I think the distance map layers is what's taking over for that. Number of blocks per unit, 0.9. We can keep that for now. But you also have added in this year number of blocks per unit minimum and a maximum, so you can get some variation. We're going to copy those down in here as well. When you're copying these down, make sure you have the spaces in properly and everything, just like the line above it. And we're going to go with the minimum as the 0.9, which is normal. To be on the safe side, we're going to make the maximum 0.9 as well. You can experiment with those. They do different things. But for now, we're leaving them the same. You know, you might it will change how many pieces of that sorghum appear in different, and make it a little bit more random if you put in different min and max sizes. Then you have the width, and from the old file it just says 4, which is high. I'm surprised by that, but we're going to leave it the way it is. And I believe if there's only one, like it was last year, that it will default for across all of the different growth stages. But the height has several different heights, which we get to keep as well. No changes on those. Texture coordinates, we get to keep those. And then you have the width variance, height variance, horizontal position variance to finish those off. And then you have the number of states, which is 9, number of growth states, which is 8, and your growth time. The growth time is not needed here. Whoops. I hate when it does that. But the growth time is no longer, gosh, every time I click up there, I click on the wrong line. It's no longer needed in this file. So we're going to delete that one out, make sure we keep that's done in the XML now. So everything else, actually you don't even need the number of growth states anywhere. You just need the number of states. So remove the number of growth states. That's done in the XML file as well. So let's take that out. And that is it for that part of the process. And once you have it that far, save your map file. And then open it up in your editor. And that's the quickest way to make sure you did that part. And you must check to make sure you got that part right. Hey Doc, how you doing? Hope all is well with you as well. So we're going to open up in the editor and see if we have sorghum in the map without errors. And it's very easy. One number off, one misplaced quotation mark or deleted, and it will easily throw an error. So you could see right here. And that has been an issue as well with this lovely version of the we do have errors. And it happens to be something that's only popped up in this version. And it is that the distance diffuse must have the same properties as the other textures. So all my distance diffuse files need to have a change done. And for that sorghum file, very simply, we got to go into textures, terrain, distance. And if I recall correctly, let's grab one for starters. Sorghum distance diffuse. We'll open it up. Number 2, this is. And let's check the size is 128. I'm going to compare that to, I know the size is critical as well. I can't remember what it was. Image 256. So we're going to, it's just a distance texture. We're going to resize it up to 256. And then we need to, I believe these have to be, let's do it, file, save as, and it's sorghum distance diffuse 2.png. We're going to click save to replace it. And I believe it just is a 8-bit file. Let's give it a try and see if we got rid of the one error. And if we didn't, then we know. Oh, they have to be DDS files. That's big part. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Why we had from last year PNGs, this time it's DDSs. So file, save as. They have to be DDS. Let's save it, and I believe it's DTX1 format, and we'll click save. All right. So they're all going to have to be converted to DDS files. You will see that we now have to get rid of the distance diffuse 2.png file. And I'm just going to close down the map before we get totally into it. Make sure I have it right completely. I think I do, but I might not. And we'll load up the map one more time to make sure the first error went out, and then we know what we have to do to the rest of them. The Bad Touch, how's it going out there? Hope all is well with everyone. Alright, so if we got rid of the error for texture 2, which we did, we know exactly what we have to do for 3, 4, 5, and 7. So let's go out there and get those done as well. Textures, terrain, distance, and I'm going to just close down these real quick and find my sorghum 3, 4, 5, and 7 files. And I'm just gonna open those all at the same time. I've got them all. We're gonna do the same changes. So image resize to 256 by 256. File save as. We keep the name but just change it to a DDS. And I am using paint.net for this. You can use GIMP. Works very similar. And save that one. DTX1 compression. It's great to do these all at the same time because it'll keep your last settings and you know you can just click the next. So file, whoops, we want to resize it. Image resize. And then save that as a DDS file. And grab the last two, image resize 256. One more time. Alright, we have those in there. We now can go back in here and grab the 4 PNG files, which are that one, that one, that one, and that one, and get rid of them. You don't want to have both of them in there because it might read those PNGs still like it did before. Close this down, reopen it one more time, see if we're finally error-free on that part of the process. The Multifruit script, we're going to get into that part next with Bad Touch. It helped. There were so many parameters on the Multifruit script that we will see very soon that it explains everything. So we'll be getting into that pretty quickly here. It's actually the next step once we know we have the fruit here working in the map. And the first thing you can do to check that out is if you come down here and look at your foliage layers, you'll see the sorghum should be in there now. And I think we need to get a bigger cursor so we can see if we, let's see, square. There's our sorghum in one of the growth stages. It looks okay. Let's see what the growth stage is. Is it 7, 8? I keep forgetting this. I usually write it down, but then I never remember. 7 and 8? Yeah, 7 and 8 for fully grown sorghum. It looks like that's what it is. So if you can plant it in here, then you can harvest it when we get all the rest of the stuff. So that part is done. It is in your map, but there's a lot more to do. And boy, do I mean a lot more. Alright. One of the things you're going to want to do is get the Multifruit script. We'll take a look at that real quick. Additional fruit. It's on marhu.net. You have to register to get the link. You'll open up a folder with marhu.net. Bonger, just go over there and you'll get it. You need to register for his forums for the link to show up, though. So make sure you do that. Yep, this is 1.0.0 or 1.003 as well. You're going to see a foliage folder, a fruit Huds folder, a maps folder that has the particle systems, fill planes, textures. You can follow his directions. I do it differently because I like to keep things together. Number one is, first thing you should do with any map, let's get rid of this one, we don't need that anymore right now, is if you, this is going to be, this is the trickiest part right here because there's a lot, you only have to do it once, so I'm going to try to remember exactly what all the steps are. But in our PV17 folder, you're definitely going to need a fill planes folder. You're going to need your foliage folder. They should be in there. If they're not, go to your C programs. Let's go this way. C, program files x86, farming simulator, data, maps, map 01. Nope, it's not in there. It's going to be where is it? Oh, okay, right in the data. Grab your fill planes folder from here. Your foliage, so you have all the other textures as well. You can grab from here. I think that's where it is. Yeah. You're going to need fill planes, foliage, and your particle systems from this folder here, copied over to your map folder. I'm going to minimize that one. So you can add fill planes to it. You can add more foliage to it. So just drop those and get the maps folder, not maps, yeah, particle systems folder as well. So you have everything you need. That we're gonna show you how to add it to it, so everything's in the same place. It makes it, in the long run, a lot less confusing than having everything in multiple places. The map holders I'm not going to worry about, but we're going to leave that there. I don't think it's actually needed anymore. I'm going to do that test later. Well, when we finish this one, we'll know if it is. And make yourself a fruit Huds folder where all the new fruit Huds are for your fruits. So once you have those 4 folders, we need to get the files in them. And this is going to be a little bit confusing, but not too bad. For fill planes, let's go to the FS15, find our PV Rivers map. There is a fill planes folder, and you can see all the fill planes in here. And I'm going to go to find sorghum diffuse, sorghum normal, sorghum specular. We're going to copy those from last year's into my fill planes folder over here with everything else. There we go. We have the sorghum files in here. In our foliage, we already have that done, so that's no big deal. The fruit Huds we need to get over here in the, oh, not that one. Let's see how many folders. I always do that. Just open another one. Fruit Huds, we want to go to PV Rivers, and you will see a Huds file. And let's find our sorghum HUD, OPQRS, sorghum right there. We're going to grab that one, and it's sorghum HUD. And interesting thing about this is this year we need to have 2 different files. There's a large and a small. I'm going to rename this so it goes with the new naming convention of HUD. And it's very simple. HUD. Just so do it exactly like the others as well. Fruit underscore sorghum. Because there's going to be the HUD fruit sorghum. And then we're going to open that one up. And I'm going to image resize it down to 128. We'll make the proper size for the other one. File, save this one as, and just while you're in there, do a underscore SMALL underscore small, because you need the small version as well, and we'll save it as a DTX5. One of the things to remember is when you bring this up, if there is this checkered background, this transparent background, in order for it to not show up as a solid, DXT5. Just keep that in mind. And generate bitmaps isn't next needed for this because it's going to, that basically gives a blurred image if it's a field type thing, but it's just in your console itself. You don't need to have a bitmap file. And then just click save, and then you will have in there our fruit Huds sorghum and our fruit Huds sorghum small. I imagine if we go back, well, I wonder what size they had theirs. Even smaller for the small one. They have them at 64. I did it at 128. It doesn't matter. They will both work. Next time we'll do it at 64. So we have our fruit Huds in there for the sorghum. And I'm going to go back up to our fill planes because we have to edit our fill plane material holder. And this is where it gets a little bit complicated. The way I've learned to do it is, let's open up a fill plane material holder here. Open up that file. You're going to see every fill plane for every crop that you, every item that has a fill plane in the map. And yes, the map does, by the way, have already installed compost, seeds, to lime, and sand because they came with the default directions. And we need to create one more down here that is sorghum. So I'm going to just copy wheat. Now this is, I'm going to export wheat. Let's take file export and just export one that's a similar crop type. So we're going to working with wheat here. If we're working with something else like that's closer to corn, then we'd use the maize, you know, like the sugar cane would be. But let's just to get an idea of all the stuff that needs to be done. I'm going to take file, export selection. I put them on my desktop and I'm going to name it sorghum underscore fill plane. You can name it whatever you want. But the important thing is to get yourself a new one that's separate from this group that's right here, because if I was to just duplicate one and then change the text properties, or the texture properties, what happens is it changes it for everything that already has that. So even though it's duplicated and renamed, if I had wheat duplicated inside and renamed it and changed the textures to wheat, and I'll give a perfect example. We'll do a quick demo because you guys need to know why you're doing this. Here I got a duplicate of wheat and we'll remove it. But if I change this to sorghum and then we changed all the properties, you'll see you'll have to change the fill type to sorghum and everything. But one of the important things to do is to go to your window material editing, and we're going to replace this wheat with our fill planes for sorghum. And I'm going to show you really quickly what happens before we do this. If we were to take this and replace it with our sorghum diffuse texture right there, but on the duplicated one, if we go back up to the top here on wheat and look at the wheat material, it's sorghum now as well, which is exactly what we don't want. We want that to remain as wheat diffuse. So that is why just duplicating it messes up the other one. So we'll get rid of that. We export it to the desktop, however, if we can find it. And you will find it right down here. I have it. Let's open it up on the desktop. And I don't have any other files, just the sorghum. And you can see I've done several other ones before. And you can reuse the same one several times if you just use it as fill plane diffuse. But I wanted to give you an idea of exactly everything. It can be on the desktop. It's not going to affect anything. It'll load up that fill plane file. And now we're going to make all the proper edits here. So wheat changes to sorghum. name up, and if you spell it wrong, this really doesn't matter too much, it's more for you. I'm going to change this to the sorghum plane so the name is correct, and then this one to sorghum as well. Anywhere where it said weed on the file names are now sorghum. Next, we need to change the fill types here to sorghum on the first box, and then for the icon as well. And make sure you have the spelling all lowercase, the same as I do right there. And then the final step, view, open your window, material editing, and we have what is the material wheat mat, but we're going to go in here, click on the first one, and find our sorghum material. And make sure it's pointing to the fill planes folder in your map. That's important. That way you don't have to copy all the files out. And once you know you have the right folder where those have been copied into, grab your sorghum diffuse. And then we're going to go down here for the specular texture and find our sorghum specular file. And you guys realize now how much work is going to be in each of these. And then our normal texture will be the sorghum normal. Which is right there. So we replace those three files right here. Now if we save this, actually we got to do it for both with the material editing. Make sure you do it for both sections. Actually that one says HUD fill wheat mat. Actually that one's okay. Alright, on this one. So you got the material holder and the icon. The icon points to sorghum. Should be good. Save that little file that's on your desktop. So there we have that one. Go back to your map. Giants editor. Not that one. Get rid of that. It's this one here. And just click your plus. Browse to your desktop. Find the file, which is sorghum fill plane. Open it up. And if we did it right, view or window material editing should show that we have the sorghum material here. Not a problem because we imported it. And on top, material editing, we should have, whoops, wrong one. I always close down the material. You could leave the material editing. I just don't have room for you guys to see everything. You'll see that it stayed wheat this time. So we've just added to the bottom the sorghum material. And if you really want to move it up above the camera, perspective camera, you can to keep them all together. Save that file and your fill plane file will be done. Oh, yeah, what's going on out there? What about CNC? They're taking too long. March is when early. Yeah, but it ain't. All right, so with the fill plane file done, we can close that out. We've got the fruit HUD. We've got a tip on ground. You'll notice that there's an oat distance diffuse, rye distance diffuse for the tip on grounds, lime, normal, compost. We need to get the distance diffuse texture for the tip on ground as well as the regular diffuse texture, and they also have to go in this. Oh, I'm not even in the right folder here. Let's get the right one open to make sure that we're doing it correctly. The tip on ground folder. So here we have the tip on ground folder, and we can grab those from the fill plane, which is weird. It calls it from two different areas. This is the part I hate. that sometimes later on I can reduce it down the file size, but we're going to grab the sorghum file, the sorghum diffuse file right here, and going to put it into the tip on ground. Sorghum diffuse.ds is in there, and I'm gonna just duplicate it. And this is important. You could literally do a distance diffuse. I wonder if we could grab the distance diffuse, what it looks like. Let's give it a shot here. Textures, map textures, terrain, distance. And it's the last growth stage for sorghum, which would be I don't like the colors. Yeah, it's a little bit. I want it to look right when from a distance. And I'm gonna probably have to replace a lot of those. So what I'm gonna do instead is do what I did before, which is back to my PV17 tip on ground. I'm just gonna duplicate the sorghum diffuse file for now. No, I don't want to put it in the recyclable bin. I want to copy it. Copy, paste, and add the word distance in there. Make sure it's same exact spelling as the rest of them. Sorghum distance underscore diffuse, the capital D in distance. And later on we'll go in and we'll edit that so it's a more proper distance file. But for now, that's all we need. There is a ton. Make a PDF. My PDFs are video. Alright. So we have our tip on ground file ready to go as far as we know. Particle systems are always fun. Alright. Let's open up a cutter effect particle system. And this is one of the tricky little buggers for sure. And I'm going to utilize the same technique we did before. But I'm going to utilize what I already have on my desktop. You guys are going to want to go into, you'll see a shader folder with all the different threshing particles for the cutter. I did a sugarcane threshing one. Actually, for this one, that was based on the maize threshing, so that the particles got on the header correctly. But because we know we're going to use a combine header, we're going to just take wheat, for instance, and export that. Export selection to my desktop, and I'm going to overwrite my current cutter one that's out there just so that I know that the cutter one that's out there is a wheat one. Where is it? Oh, no, wait. I have maize threshing, so I don't even have to. But basically, you would go to, we'll output it just as cutter, C-U-T-T-E-R, and save it to the desktop. Then we can go out there and find it right here, our i3D file, and do the edits again outside. I am learning you as I do. Yes. So we have it. It's wheat. Not anymore. It's going to be sorghum. And there's a left, center, right. Make sure you change each of the names down here. Center one, in here you have a field type of sorghum. And right and left have to be labeled sorghum as well. Now, once you have one of these on the desktop, you can, as long as you import it separately each time, these values will stay to whatever they were last. So next time I'll come in here for the next fruit type, and I'll just point to that cutter and open it up, edit it, go right back in, and add it into the current one. Next, we're going to take a look again at the window material editing, and let's take a look at what the wheat material is. You see, it's pointing to the foliage wheat barley, which is a different. This one might not work exactly unless I recreate it, but we're going to point it anyway because that's what it wants. To, you notice the sorghum is the smaller, older style type rather than one of these big ones. I may have to recreate this map into a wheat barley map with the more stages so it can select, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to, which is not going to be fun. But basically let's just grab it for now for each of them and see what happens. Once you have that one, click on the next one and change it to the sorghum diffuse. Something that I didn't have to change last year, but now if we want cutter effects, we might have to redo these textures. We'll see what happens when we get to the cutter. Once those three are saved, we can click the save button, exit out of that effect, go back to our cutting effects file, and then go to the desktop and import our cutter i3D that we created into the map, and then just take and edit. We're going to cut that one out and put it into the shader group where all the rest of them are by pasting it in. At this point, we can actually take a look and see what it's going to look like for effects, but I'm going to save it here. Whoops, no, I don't want to delete it. I want to save it. And I'm going to, while I have sorghum selected, I'm going to raise it up and take a look at the different effects. You know, it might just work. We've got some green color pieces and stuff that I think it's going to have to change because the color should be more, but we'll see how it looks in the game when we get in there. And we'll just lower it back down in place. But we already saved it, so we know where it is. Let's exit out. And that's your cutter effect. There's a lot of different cutter effects. Just take a look in each one of them. Cutter effect map 01. And make sure that you don't need to have anything else. See, this is just a shader for grass. So anything that would have a cutter using a mower, you're going to want to put into this one here. Just check out each one and know where your things are going to be going. Like the sorghum, I'm basing off of wheat. So if there's nothing in, this is also for grass, but that would be the map 02. That's probably not even needed in the map. And then there's an effect material holder here. We'll do that one as well. And load it up. And this is the big one. This is the big one. No, I did not get the webcam. And right now, things went crazy. Let's see. This is the big one. The one where there's tons of different pieces that need to be changed, which is the effect material holder. So we know we have wheat in here. I know that I have it labeled like this. We have wheat in the unloading section. All right. I would copy that out to the desktop as named unloading, just like we've been doing. And did I do that? There it is right here. Let's open that unloading one up. And we're going to rename it to sorghum. It actually says sugarcane, but sorghum's good. And rename all these to sorghum as well. Keep it all the same so everything looks right. Just changing the beginning part where it says sugarcane. You could do a find and replace in the file itself if you wanted to, but I like to do it this way. If you opened up the i3D file in the editor, then make sure all your fill types are set to sorghum. Yeah, because we're doing sorghum, not sugarcane. One more. All right. And then once again, material editing panel. Check out your material. It's not linked together. Why not? Maybe we need to output one. Interesting. I'm confused. That never happens. Let me do one. Let me output the wheat one again. I gotta make sure this is right. Maybe it's something to do. Maybe I do have to. I'm gonna close this down. We don't need to. Let's save the map and close it down. But we don't. I want to make sure we get this right. And I thought that has some materials on it, but I might have messed it up because I changed it to. So I'm gonna offload this wheat unloading one and make the changes to that instead. Export it. I know that will get it exactly the way it needs to be. To my desktop as I'm going to write right over the other unloading one. Just want to make sure we have it all right. And if you guys are exporting it for the first time, you should be good. But let's check them out and see if they have materials on them. I think they do, but I'm not selectable. Wheat. Let's see what you have for me. Yeah, they do. So it's the same materials. This one we can change to sorghum. Why I couldn't access the materials on the other one, I have no idea. We may have to copy it out each time we do a change and make all these changes. Again, with each of the fill types to sorghum. Sorghum here. And sorghum on this one. And then we have to go into the material editing. Once again, pull up, and it's the fill plane for wheat diffuse, so we're going to go to our fill planes folder and grab instead the sorghum diffuse right there. Change that one out. And down here we also have a normal texture. The normal texture is blurred on purpose. We don't have to change that one. This is the particle systems as they come out of the pipe, so it doesn't have to have the detail. It kind of gives it the effect just in leaving the blurred texture. All you need to do is the diffuse texture for that, but you're going to have to, whoops, I shouldn't have closed the material editing panel. You're going to have to do it for each of these pieces individually. There's number 2, and then this third one as well needs to be sorghum diffuse right there. Now we can save it. We'll minimize, well, we can close that one now. We don't need to minimize it. We'll open up the big one. Click our import button, go to the desktop. You can save these anywhere if they're in another folder, it doesn't matter. But now if we grab our unloading i3D and open it back up, it comes in as the sorghum. We know it's going to be good. Let's cut it out and put it into the unloading section and paste it in there. And that one is done. Just go down each of these pluses, see which ones contain information pertaining to the one that you're most similar. If it has a wheat section like it does here, and you can, while you're in here, go into wheat material holder. Let's view the graphic that's used for smoke, because sorghum smoke, and it is just for this, is very similar to, well, they're all the same. It just needs a smoke texture. So this one here, because it's going to use the same texture files, I can just copy it and then change the name to sorghum. And then make sure I have the fill type in here set to sorghum as well for the smoke texture. That one is done. If it has a straw texture, you would add it into the straw section. Just copy one of those. I'm not going to put straw on sorghum, although I might later. But for now, I want to make sure everything else works. The chopper, if it works on the chopper for wheat, we're going to need it for sorghum. Let's see if my chopper file on the desktop has images linked to it already before I change everything. I might have moved files around. Could be why. But yeah, it has the FX maze. Yeah, I'm not able to. So we're going to copy out the chopper and overwrite that one. We'll copy the wheat chopper. Basically, file, export the selection again to my desktop. I'm going to just overwrite the chopper that's out there, and I'm save it, overwriting that one. Now if I get my chopper file, you have 0 at end. Alright. Window, material editing. See the chopper? It is the straw diffuse. We don't actually have a chopper file that's correct for this. You can find any of the chopper files. Let's see, they're using fill planes straw diffuse, so let's do our fill planes and grab our sorghum diffuse and replace that one for the chopper. Let's rename everything to sorghum. GHUM, and wheat one material holder to sorghum, and make sure the fill type here as well in your user attributes. Everything else stays the same. Save it. You can close that one down, open up the big one, and go to your desktop and find that chopper right here. Import it. Our sorghum is down here with all the correct files in it. We're going to cut it again and put it into the chopper section. And we'll continue down the list. Basically, you'll usually find a similar file. Sometimes you might have to create a graphic or use a substitute. There is no need for anything in the soil or the sprayer section or the spreader, but we do need a pipe. So the wheat pipe here, let's check. Well, let's just export it. Why not? File, export selection. We'll overwrite my previous pipe. Go out here and open that one up. And that is going to use a similar file as well. We'll change it to sorghum name. So change its fill type to sorghum. So it's a lot of repetitive, but these are all the necessary steps needed. And our material here is going to be switched to the sorghum fill plane once again. And the other material we could check is going to need the sorghum normal instead of the wheat normal, so it matches. Sorghum normal file right there. And that is it for that one. Save our pipe file, go back to the big, whoops, we want to close that one down because the pipe is done, and import it into the map. From our desktop, it's easy for me to put it on the desktop. I'm looking for the file named pipe.i3d. There it is. We'll cut it and we'll put it up into the pipe section. It's not going to be under mower, but it is going to be if you have conveyor belts, we have to make a belt for this as well. File, export the wheat belt to our desktop into the belt i3d. Make a new one for yourself if you don't have it. It's just, oh, let me tell you, the way I used to do it was manually edit the i3d files and everything, which can be done, but this is so much easier to keep straight by just export it, make the changes, re-import it back in so your images don't get screwed up. Travis925, thank you for the follow. So, it's sorghum. Let's change the name now. And change it down here, the fill type, to sorghum, and wheat zero material change to sorghum. And our material editing, once again, it's using the fill planes wheat diffuse for wheat, so we're going to grab the fill plane sorghum diffuse for that one, and it's using wheat normal, so we'll grab the sorghum normal file to go with, if I don't pass right there, to go with it. Save it. And, well, let's close that one. Go back to the big one, where everything is. And import our belt file. A lot of repetition. So you will get good at it if you add a lot of fruits. Edit, cut it out, add it to our belt section, paste it in. Leveler. Yep, we need it for the leveler as well because wheat is in there. So file, export selection. And I don't even know if I have the leveler file. I don't remember doing the leveler last time. Did I do it? Well, maybe I didn't. Wait, there's probably a reason for that. Let's check and see what the graphics file for the leveler is. I might have found that it didn't. Nope, it definitely needs to be changed. So let's get another leveler. Name it something easy. Levels, good. Did I not do one for... Yeah, see, I didn't even do one for sugarcane. That's why. It's missing the leveler file. I'll have to go back and add that later. But we'll open that up and make the changes as well. The oat and rye are there because they're part of the base multifruit script. So sorghum, and we change it down here, and we will change the graphic files again to the sorghum file, sorghum fill plane, which is good that we're using the same graphic file at least for a lot of these different, and then the normal texture as well. A lot of these different fill types, because It would stink if you needed to have all these copies of the graphics in there. It's using the fill plane files for all of these. Save it. Close it. Go back to the main. Import our level I3D. And then we'll cut that out. There's a good chance too when you get done with all this stuff that you mess something up. Then you have the washer, only has water in it. And the pickup has straw, so if it was a windrow, then you would have to put it into the pickup file. But the good news is that the biggest file of them all, the effect material holder, is done. We click save. We can close it. We look down through and there's one more, a particle material holder file right here. Let's open our particle material. In the particle systems. And same deal. We need to see smoke particle systems. There's, let me see, window. Let me open up the material editor. It's just a smoke file. We don't need to do anything new to that. But one of the problems with smoke files is that sometimes we'll test it out, edit copy, and then we're going to edit. Whoops, let's highlight the smoke particle, edit, paste. Make sure that our smoke emitter is good. I think they fixed that this year. Sometimes it would give you a box, but there is no white box for the smoke particle. Rename it to sorghum. It's just the color of the smoke. Smoke emitter, change the fill type to sorghum. Emit shape is good. That part's done. So we can close the smoke particle systems. We have a chopper particle systems. And this is, let's take a look at the wheat one on that as well. They're all emitters. I'm going to just check the graphics, and it is using the FX wheat folder. I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to make a duplicate of it. If later on, I don't have these chopper particle systems all set for everything. I don't even think, did I make one for sugarcane? Let's check it out. I don't think I did. What did I use for sugarcane? It's using the wheat. It's the you can get into technical details and make it. It's just the emitter of the particles on the back. If you want to change the colors, you can create your own. But for now, I'm just going to duplicate the wheat one and make it into a, so it uses that one for my sorghum as well. Basically, if you want to make your own custom one, do the whole export, change the material, and then re-import it after you create your own fill material. A lot of times you could just bring your effect material, basically, which is the FX wheat windrow 4x1 diffuse file, and make a copy of it and make it the sorghum, name sorghum. You can edit the color a little bit to help match what you're taking off the field. It's another process that I'm not going to do today. I'm just going to use the wheat one for the sorghum on the chopper particle system as well. Unloading particles. Now this, I didn't get any. Oh, see, because we don't have wheat in this group. We have chaff, potato, sugar beet. We don't need it in there. Manure and forage. Spreader particles. Nope. Straw, manure, cutter, chopper. Maize and sunflower are in there. Which I should add the sugarcane because I did switch the cutter, but we'll get to that later. We don't need any there. It doesn't go under windrower, tedder, weeder. Not needed. Forestry. Harvesting. I think we're done with that. Pickup. Yep, we're good. No other categories, so we'll save that file as well. Hey, Meesman! Welcome to the stream, and Travis925, thank you for the follow if I didn't get that before. Alerts aren't working. PV17, thank you so much for your $25 donation as well. It's very much appreciated. Material holder there is done. Alright. What time is it anyway? How are we doing? Oh, we're actually doing pretty good for one. You can do this in batches. It's much easier to do one at a time, but you can definitely do more than one crop so you're not going over and over through each of the sections. Now, I think we hit everything. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. We'll find out in a minute. So, with that, we need to make a couple major changes here. Let's go to our map. Let's see, find mod description XML file, and edit that with Notepad++. And I'm going to close down the map so I don't mess it up. You need to add the text section for a new file into the L10N entries. So at the bottom of this, I'm going to just copy one that's already there. If you don't have one, there is one. Ode and all those are in there in the default. So we're going to redo the name and call this one sorghum. That's so it can read it into the map correctly. And put the name, its identifier and the name as you want it to appear in game. You could say sorghum as the identifier and then have it be something totally different. Why you'd want to do that, I don't know. As far as the translation of sorghum, I don't know what it is yet. We can look at that later when I do all translations. With the additional map types Lua, you have to add the extra source file. Extra source files from that additional map types, the mod itself, the Multifruit mod. There is the extra source file section that points to the file name additional map types Lua, and you just have to make sure that you have that Lua right in the main folder if you copy it in the same place, off of the same folder as mod description file that we have here. So it's basically going to run that script from inside the map, and therefore this map is no longer going to be Xbox compatible. Sorry. Multifruit maps will not work. Additional map types section. You can copy the one from, and this is the bad touch was asking about this, the new things. This is huge. You can copy the oat and rye and the lime and compost. Notice there's fruit types and fill types. So fruit types will automatically register themselves as fill types as well, but fill types can be registered separately. And let me explain something really quick about fruit types and fill types that I do know. Giant's engine will support 64 fruit types, which is far more than, no, it won't be available on consoles. Can't be. Multifruit maps can't be. But Giant's fruit types it will hold 64 different fruit types. So you could have literally 64 without any extra scripts, no 64 plus scripts like we had in the past. You can add 64 totally different growing things on the field and add them in. In addition to that, it will automatically make those 64. In addition, if you added the stuff there in the map 01 that we told you earlier, it will support up to 64, and it will add those 64 to the fill types. So fill types are things that don't actually grow on the fields, but you can have lime, seeds, sand, gravel, coal, all the products from the factories that go onto pallets, everything else. And there is a limit to that total number of fill types, but the cool thing is that fill type limit is 256 this time around. And with 64 crops we'll never hit, plus an additional couple hundred spots for fill types, we'd have a bigger map than rivers if we ever went totally crazy with fill types. So we're not going to have a problem this year without, hopefully, if everything works as planned, with adding additional stuff in. I'm going to copy one of the previous lines that we added because this is just values that you have to set. So I'm going to copy the sugarcane one and paste it right underneath here as the fruit type line in the additional map types section. Let me jump back over here. And these are the values that need to be changed. We need to change the name to sorghum, like so. And you just got to go through each one, and most of it's true or false. Some of it is not, but let's check out what we got. Needs seeding. Yes, it does need seeding. If you want it to show up in seeders, you set it to true. Allows seeding. Yes, set it to true. Use seeding with. Use seeding with is set to false, which is the standard seeding texture when the seeder goes down. If you want it to look like the potato texture underneath, change the use seeding with to true. Direction snap angle, leave it at 0 because everyone I've seen is 0, so why not leave it at 0? I don't know what the difference that'll make. You can experiment on your own to see what the snap angle does. Align to sun is used for things like sunflower, and we'll leave that false. I'm going to leave the minimum harvest growth state to 4 and the max to 6 and the cut state to 8, just like all the other ones in the map, so they're consistent. You'll be able to harvest it from 4 through 6, and when it's cut it'll show stage 8, and that is good. Allow partial growth state I have set to false. I imagine that, well, I don't even know what really that's going to do. But then you have a price per liter, 0.29. This is where you can get a little bit crazy with your price per liter. I'm going to take sorghum and make it up to 0.33 just to give it a little variety for now. But I'm going to take the 1.4 liters per square meter and drop that down to 1.1. These are all going to change when we do the balancing. Just give yourself some different stuff, different values. Make it a little random. It's kind of cool. You can also do this. Right now I'm going to do it as a single day crop. I want sorghum to be as well this time around, I think. So if it's used for fuel, it comes ready with everything else. Seed usage per square meter. I'm going to put that at 0.05 right there, which is the standard. If you wanted to use a little bit more seeds, like I'm having sugarcane use a little more, but it's also giving you more yield, then you just up it a little bit. I'm going to use the standard. If you want less seed, go to 0.04 or 0.03, you name it. Show on price table. I don't know why they put those, and these may have to change to true. I think that has to do with if it's going to show and fluctuate with the prices. I'm going to leave it until we do the experimenting on the show on price table, but I'm pretty sure that's what it does. I don't have it in any silos or anything to check it right now. But it also might have to do with great demands and everything, so we're going to leave it at false. I'll probably end up changing all of these to true, my guess is. Show on the map. If you want it to show up on the map, you want to set that to true. Your mass per liter is the weight. I'm setting it for now the same as all the other ones, which is the 0.0005. And same with the max physical snap angle. Just copy the one from the previous or what's in the Multifruit. You can choose if you want to use it for a field job. Use for field job, set it up. I have it for true, so if you can do missions with it. If you didn't want it to be on the map for missions, set that to false, which you definitely want to do that for things like, well, you might not want it for grass. You could, but it's currently grass would be set to false. If I add a second type of grass, I would probably set it to false, which is something you can do. You'll find out. Minimum forage growth state, we're not using the forager, but so we can leave that alone. Withering number growth state is growth state 7. Number of growth states is 6. Growth time, what is that, 28,800,000? This is probably in either seconds or milliseconds, but this number here is a full day. So if you wanted to make it a 2-day or a full standard, just like wheat or barley, that's the number they're using there. If you want it to take twice as long, then double that number. If you want to take as long, cut it in half and just put in the new number. It has to be a whole number. It's an integer, but that's your growth state time. Breather time. Hi, Amaki. How you doing? Reset spray I have set to true. I'm pretty sure, still not tested fully, but I think that resets it in the middle of the growth stages, so you can spray it again. Ground type changed growth state and ground type changed are both set to 0. Not exactly sure what they're for yet either. Now this is where it gets interesting. Is it an earth fruit? Earth fruits are your potatoes, sugar beets, carrots, onions. It is not, so I'm not adding it to the earth fruit category. We'll leave it at false. If we add it to true, anything that takes earth fruits would also have that option in it. So the earth fruit category for like feeding the pigs, where you are allowed to put sugar beets or potatoes, if you add it as an earth fruit, it will automatically appear at the pigs as well. So it's kind of cool. Minimum preparing growth state is 1, maximum is 7. That is the growth states I believe that you can actually fertilize through. Prepared growth state 6, that's good. Has windrow, and make sure I get the right one where I'm on the line below it. We don't want that. This one does not have windrow, so I set that to false. If I set it to true, we can then go on to, and I may later, but I don't want to mess things up right now. I'll do that in an experimental test when we know everything works, see what more might have to be involved to adding windrow. I know I need more particle effects and all that junk, so, and I didn't do those yet. Windrow price per liter and windrow liter per square meter, all available to change. Windrow show on price table is set to false. Windrow mass per liter. Basically, you can have all these windrow, everything set for the windrows as well in the registering of the fruit types. Then we have has straw, which equals false. It does not have straw, but we want to be able to use it as a fill type, so that's set to true. It has materials, fill plane materials and all that stuff, so that's set to true. It has our particle systems, that's set to true. We want to use heap, which means you can pile it on the ground, so that's set to true. Has fill group unknown. I don't know what it is, but it's a value that has to be there, so it's set to false. You can set them to groups. The bulk group is all the grains and stuff, so that is set to true. Liquid group, fill group is set to false. Fill group windrow is set to false. Has fill group piece is set to false. Has fill group animal is set to false. Has fill group combine is set to true, because we're going to do it on a combine as for harvesting. And has fill group forage harvester is set to false. If we wanted it to be forage harvester, we could put it on there instead of the combine. Has fill group forage wagon. If we wanted to be able to pick it up in the forage wagon, we could turn that on there as well. Slurry tank. Manure spreader. Spreader. Fill group sprayer. Has fill group fork. I don't know if we need to turn that on. That might be if it's like a pallet to show on the forks. Not sure yet. Has fill group train wagon. If we want to add it to all trains, which I do, I believe that's what we need to change these to true. Let me change them all right now. That's going to make it so you can dump the product into trains as a vehicle type, so all the train carts should be able to take all my fruit types there as well. We fill group auger wagon. You're basically going through, and if you want it to be used, then choose which things it should be in. On this one, we're going to change the use grain header to true, so it uses a standard grain header, and we're going to turn off the maize header like I put on by setting that one to false. You can have it be put on both of them if you wanted to, and also the direct cutter for like the poplar, you can put it on that one instead. Use pickup. Not exactly sure what the pickup is, but use planter. That would be the tree planter. You could set it to the tree planting. Sorghum can be used as part of the cow base feed. This is where if you add it to cow base feed, it will appear at the cows in the base feed section along with whatever the other cow base feed. If you want it to be a cow grass, you would change that to true. Use as cow power food, you could change it to true, and then it could be used to create power food, I guess. Heck, it's amazing, all these. Use as sheep grass, use as pig base feed. I'm keeping them all false. Use as pig grain, use as pig protein, and use as pig earth fruit. I'm leaving them all to false right now. Sorghum's not going to be used for doing the pigs. Your fruit types set up, additional map types. We should be good there. Once that's added in, make sure you save your mod description XML, and there's only one last part, which is in your maps folder. Last part of this thing before we do the first test, map01 XML file. Open that up in Notepad++. If you did it my way, then you just need to edit a few of these file paths to point to the files in your map. If you're doing it through the Multifruit script way, you will need to add additional file paths because it's putting them in different location. But if you just followed me exactly what I did, just do what I'm doing right now, which is the ones that we need to point our folders to. We have a particle system. Anything that has particle systems that had a $data / in front of it means it's calling it from the map. But we have, right off the PV17, our own particle systems folder. So basically just deleting the $data and leaving the particle systems for all four of those. Delete the $data / in front of them. So it just says particle systems, particle material holder. Points to the correct effect material holder. The cutter one, the cutter effect map01. And again, the very last one, our fill plane folder right here as well. We want pointed to fill planes. Fill planes / fill plane material holder. So it knows exactly where to find the fill plane material holder that we are now using. Once you have all those additional file types set, you can, from this, or the file locations set properly, you can add them to farm silos. I'm going to do that at a later date. But let's copy soybean just for the heck of it on our main silo, and we'll throw sorghum in for a test. This is the main farm one. We can change the values, all the cell points, all the way down, but save that file, and then if we did everything right, we should have sorghum in the map. So load it up, take a drink, have a beer, say a prayer, because most likely something I did is going to be a little bit off. If I did it right all the way through there and actually don't have an error, it will be the first time in my entire life. So let's see what we got here. Let's bring up a save game. Select our map. I'm going to turn on the good old error log because here we go. and continue with all our mods and see which errors. We've got some DDS files missed. Yep. And some texture layer problems. So, we have to fix a few things. We could go and check things out, but let's see what it actually is telling me that I missed. First error is failed to load distance texture tip on ground sorghum distance diffuse. DDS. I think we put that here. Let's close this down. We'll open up the error log outside the game, which will make it much easier for me to follow these. And the way I do that, guys, is if you don't want to hunt for your log file where it is, if you have my mod folder switcher, you can click the log button. So we're going to just go down and catch all these errors. Always check for the errors that pop up. We were error-free before we did anything, and now we're having some issues. So my first error is additional map types by RC Devil. So it's looking for tip on ground sorghum normal.dds. I thought we put that in there. And sorghum distance diffuse.dds. Let's see if it's what we did there. It could be a naming problem. Oh, wrong folder. Close that one. So, tip on ground. Sorghum underscore diffuse.dds. What is it telling me here? I have the normal and it's looking for the normal DDS, sorghum underscore normal, which I do not have there. So let's grab that out of the fill plane folder. Sorghum underscore normal dot DDS and put it into my tip on ground. I guess we need that. There we go. Problem number 1 solved. Sorghum distance underscore diffuse dot DDS is also supposed to be in here. Sorghum distance. What is different about that? It's got to be something. Sorghum distant here. I'm going to copy the name. Tip on ground. Because it's what it's supposed to be. I don't see anything wrong. But I might have had something different. We'll check it again in a minute. Do you guys see? You guys are usually good at pointing things out that I'm missing, but it was not found. Was there a space in there or anything? Who knows? Alright, failed to load distance checker, sorghum distance diffuse on the tip on ground. Same thing, sorghum normal. I think that was it for those. Everything else was fine. Let's load it up and see if I got it or what's going on. But that one has me baffled. The file's there, and it might just not have loaded because the other one didn't as well. Sometimes that stuff can happen, but we'll see what we got. See if it's cleared up. Darn it! That's another time that I almost had it though, but yet the darn error log. I told you it's never happened. Never once the first time through with all that has to be done have I managed to get everything completely right. Alright. We do have one more issue now. Now that it's finding the file, it's not matching the fill properties of other. This is one of those image conversion things. We've got past the first thing, the error is fixed, and sorghum diffuse.dds does not match the image properties of the other layers. And sorghum distance diffuse has to have the other textures, same properties. So our sorghum diffuse.dds and our distance diffuse.dds need to have a little bit of work done on them. So let's open up the images themselves. Alright, back to the map. In our tip on ground, sorghum diffuse.dds. Let's open that up for a minute, see what we have. I'm going to also open up the oat diffuse.dds. Just check the file size. Image is 512 by 512, and this one is 512 by 512 as well. I'm pretty sure that, and there's a program that you could check this out, but I'm pretty sure that it has to be, well, we're going to have to do a couple. Sorghum diffuse.dds. I think it has to be set to dxt1. That's so it's 1 or 5. It came up as 5, so I'm guessing it has to be switched to 1. So we'll do that as well for the dx sorghum distance diffuse. And replace that as a dxt1 also. Let's see if that got rid of the errors. If not, one of them, they probably have to go to 5. It's one or the other. We'll find out in a minute. Not quite exciting as watching the map come together, I know, but this is the necessary parts to get everything into the map. So you guys could imagine when I come back and you see 30 fruits in there. Yeah, they're a good way to fall asleep. You're not kidding. It's hard to do when you're doing them, though. Let's watch it roll. Right. They're not the same properties as the other textures, so they're going to have to be 5s, I guess. Let's try that out. It's weird. It's weird, I'm telling you. The size is right. It has to be the DXT format of the files. And I got to make a list of what they are. To be honest, this is really only the second time doing it. And yeah, once I should write these down, you know? Write them down for me. Send me the list. So once we know exactly how the files are, we can resave them before we even get in there. Oh, we already have that open, but file, save as dxt5. Let's give that a shot. And that one is sorghum diffuse. Sorghum distance diffuse. Let's see if we can finally get through this without errors. DXT5 on both of those. I think that's it, unless I'm missing something. But important to make sure you iron out all the little last things, because it's just super easy to miss that stuff. Please don't give me that stupid little warning. Oh crap. What doesn't match? Is it the sizes are Sorghum diffuse, sorghum distance diffuse must have same properties as other textures. Both of them have the same thing going on, yet I'm missing what it is. And we need to find those out. If it's not, let me see. I think in the additional map types it said what they had them set to. So let's see. Whoops. If it does. He had an instructions PDF here, and it's open up on my other monitor. Ground tip textures. Ah, okay. All right, tip on ground. Oh, let's get into the map, not into that folder. This is what you need to do. I've got a list in front of me now. Tip on ground textures. Sorghum diffuse.dds. File, save it as a dxt5 with the generated MIP maps on it, 512 by 512 pixels. Alright, that's your first one. Next, the sorghum distance diffuse. That one should be resized to 256 by 256, and then file, save as, replace it as a dxt1 with your MIP maps also selected on that one as well, and that should do it if this list that I'm reading here is correct. Just watch me do my tutorials. Hey, I try, you know. It can get a little bit crazy, you know. This isn't one of the most fun tutorials, but like I said, it's a necessary one. We walk you through it once. I'll do the rest of the crops and not bore you to death. We'll bore you to death on new things. I think maybe Wednesday we'll throw the chopped straw mod in here as well and start getting some of these things in, and then finish up with working on the map. So did I select the right map? I can't even remember. I do things. No, I did not. Please, please be right. Please be right. Please be right. I think we got her. No errors. Yay. So, here we are on a brand new save game. Let's load up our map. You could see that if we go to fruit types page 2, we have our sorghum with the little icon picture, and it is on field 25 and field 10. Kind of cool. No chopped straw kills servers. Well, you could take out the chopped straw mod and it wouldn't function, so then it should not kill servers. Have to do that test. We got it on the map on the server that those guys are playing on. I'll ask them about that. See if it makes a difference. But you should be able to just put in or take out. Did you have chopped straw this year? It shouldn't kill the servers this year. It's done differently. Chopped straw shouldn't be as big of an issue the way they have it done this time. And the fact that you need the mod in the folder, it should be optional just like last time. You can actually cultivate it. Where am I going? Wrong direction. That's where I'm going. You can actually cultivate it in for fertilizer as well. So we're going to try it. Believe me, if it kills servers, we'll find out before it gets to you. Oh, if you haven't tried it for FS17, it's completely different the way the stuff is built into this thing. and streamlined that, I mean, we're gonna I've got so much going on in this map and still pulling 60 frames per second every. Yeah, the scripts aren't running, but the chop straw shouldn't be that big of a deal when we get to it. So field 25 should have some sorghum on it at some point. We don't know exactly what growth stage it's in, but we shall see if it looks like our sorghum of old time. There it is. Our sorghum plant. I'm going to let it grow, let it grow, let it grow. And just briefly, while you guys are watching this, stop the clock if I'm not back when it's fully grown. I got to take a quick break. Alright, I am back. Did you miss me? Alright, what I'm going to do is, while we're waiting for this to grow, is get myself a combine, seeing as the store is close by. We'll grab... Oh, it doesn't have to be anything too fancy. We'll grab one of the case axial flow, I guess. Buy that. And a header. This one looks like it'll... Oh, that's a Massey header. Where's the case header? $35 footer? I don't know which goes on which. Let's try that one. I don't play the game, like I said. And we'll let that keep growing. It's working on it. Is that header going to be too big for this thing? Maybe, maybe not. Like I said, it should take a full... It's probably going to come due ready at night. But because they have 64 fill type support built in, we should be able to get this menu so that we see all of the fill types on... What do we got? 12 per page? So there's 6, yeah, 12, 24. We should be able to see all the fill types. We're in the... Looks like the third growth stage of green. And I gotta buy the field. That would help too. Which I shall do right now. So we own it. So I can harvest it myself. I want to test the fill planes in a trailer. I guess we can get all the equipment ready for everything to test, as well as the dump and everything with sorghum in the map. It's gonna go right to probably the next morning before it's ready, because I don't have it on fast growth either, which I guess we can set that up. Make it move a little bit faster. A little bit more money. Grab ourselves a tractor that we know can haul stuff. You know what? I never tried this. I want to just try. I know it's not the best hauling tractor for sure, but let's. I want to drive this one here. See what it's like. You know, that's how I test things that I don't usually buy. We'll pull a good old trailer. Ooh, what color choices? Let's try a brown one. Oh, we should have done color. Oh well. Let's see what we got. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool looking. We're up another growth stage on our sorghum. I don't care for it. I'm going to probably redo the sorghum texture like I redid the other ones so it matches the new format. It's a little bit flat looking this time around. I think we need to redo it. What do you guys think? Yeah, we're going to try to update things so that, yeah, it's definitely flat looking. Which means I need to put it in the bigger format, copy paste, get all the different growth stages sized and everything, and then use the other shape IDs and stuff for it that are used on a similar crop, but it's a little bit flattish looking this year. It might have been that way last year, but compared to the other crops, not quite digging it when you get up close. You know, it looks like a flat piece of paper growing out of the field. So it definitely is going to get a little bit of work done to it. But I want to test it and see what it looks like anyway before we go. Make sure everything's working. And once it gets fully grown, I'll use the time fast forward mod, but that messes up the growth stage a little bit. Takes a little longer. Just want to make sure I'm doing it in daylight. I'm gonna fall asleep just talking about it. Come on, sorghum. Now let's take a look, while we're waiting there, let's take a look in the store. So setting it in the right categories, we should see it. Right there it is in this trailer, along with all the other new products. Sand. I'm going to have to get some sand in the map, see how that works. But you'll see it's automatically added to all the proper things in the store, as well as our seeders, which are right here. You can see it's added to the seeder as well, which is awesome. If we made it an earth fruit, it would have been added probably to the one of the earth fruit seeders, I'm guessing, or this seeder here, which does the well, yeah, sunflower shoot. So there's different categories. Our sorghum's done. Let's get some daylight. And harvest a little bit and see what happens. Yeah, they can definitely put me to sleep. All right. let's see what we've got here. Like I said, if we redo the texture, we'll get the proper color and everything. It'll pull from the proper map. We can do that actually probably tonight too. It's a different process I use, but the sorghum grain is going into the grain tank. Everything's looking good except for the textures themselves. It looks not too bad when it's fully grown. That one stage though looked pretty awful. But sorghum is back. Distance texture isn't too bad for this stage. I'll check them closer later. I'm going to try to make them match a little bit better in the distance. But let's get enough of this so that we can do a little tipper test and everything as well. So the smoke particles and everything are back there are default for wheat, just like anything else. But I think that that's fine for this grain. It almost matches the color of it. And I want to get enough so we have the effect of it all tipping out of there. If you don't get we'll do a couple rows. One of the things I did notice though, and I don't know what it is, I always have the same problem. Let's try it on this one. Thank you, Badzilla. You're always there with the compliments. I'm so happy that you're here. You make me feel so good. It's always nice to hear the good things, see what you guys are thinking. Yeah, hired workers is working fine. With that one header that I had a problem with, I don't know if it was the combine or the header or if it's the sugarcane texture with the maize header, but the hired worker wasn't working on the field, so I'll have to take a look at that. But my hired worker is going, but I don't care for the particles, but I do know we can make them so that it looks like it's actually sorghum going into there. It's just that it is pulling from the wrong part of the image map because it's a different style image map. So things are going to be redone with the image maps. I'm going to look for some new crops too. If you guys have any FS15 map links that have some interesting fruit types or crops in them that you would like to see that we have not used in the past, which means if they're not in the rivers map, it would save me a ton of time. Just make a thread in the forums and I'll take a look at, when I'm ready to, over the next couple days. If you throw those links, I don't know why we're turning around in the middle of the field. Don't ask me. Hired workers do that could be because of my map. It also could be because this game does that. He just decided to do a 180 in the middle of the field. But yeah, I'd like to see. It would save me a huge amount of time if we can get some new things. Like, I know there were peanuts in a map out there last year, and it's those crop textures. I'm not an artist. I can't draw them. I need to find them, and then we can bring. If I have that texture map, we can make it work. I'm gonna grab my trailer and go get some of that stuff. JCB is pretty darn fast. I'll give it that much. If it's empty, that's the thing. Alright, so the fill plane's working just fine. Everything is looking pretty darn good so far. Yeah, I just gave you homework is right. Hey, no, well, time savers, you guys want to get this. You saved me time. I'm just saying. You might find something or have seen something as far as crop textures that are really cool that I have missed too. I mean, I will be looking for some. if you guys don't find them for me. But definitely, you might know better of some of the things that you just don't see that are out there. And let's make sure, while I'm doing this, let's turn on that F1 menu. Unload here is an option. Check it out. We have a pile of sorghum on the side of the field. So everything is this is pretty freaking cool that all this comes together. And yeah, it's a process. I ran it over and the pile's spreading out a little bit. But the different options that you have now for doing different things with them. You can make it so it goes into the bunker silos if we wanted to. The coconut, that's a tree. Tobacco would be very interesting. Exactly. If you're an artist and you want to create some new ones, I'll jump in to show you what we kind of need to do with that in just a minute, because I'm going to try to turn this crop into a different, done a little bit differently. It's going to take a little work, but we'll do the steps and see what happens. First thing is I'm just going to grab a little more and then head down and make sure that, oh, you know what? I didn't make that necessary map edits to put it into the silo, so we're probably not going to see it in there. I also want to check out the menu here real quick. See if it appears. I don't think... Oh, yeah, where's those? Corn, potato, sugar beet, poop, soybean. I think we have to turn it on in here. And I was right. The oat and stuff all needs to be added to that in order to come in. Me and Artie, you need someone to create the logo for FieldStat. That's the thing. I actually did create this sugarcane texture myself, but I found images of sugarcane in different growth stages online, and then copied them into the image. I mean, I actually, sadly enough, was in graphic design for several years, and never did a graphic design on my own. I was in more of advertising, and I put things together, much like you see the map. Things that using clip art and photographs and that type of stuff. There's the sugar cane just before it gets harvested, turned in. It's done a little differently. It looks a little bit different, but I like it. I just not 100% sure on the final cut stage color. I'm going to try to tone it, make it a little bit lighter. I'm just driving over here probably for nothing. I just want to see if it automatically detected it on the triggers or not. See what we have go. I don't think so. Is Clee and Luzerne in the Multifruit? Not currently, but I can add them from another map from last year. And I want to add oh, look at that. It's going in. It really did. I did not add it to the triggers within the map, but it's still dumped in because I added it to it in the map01XML. That is super awesome to know that I don't actually have to go in there. Let's see if it can come out. There it is, sorghum. So you don't even have to go back and edit the silos, even though they have the fill types done correctly. It's been added into it, which means that my guess is I'm going to go to one of the other farms, but the map01XML file is probably the only thing you have to add it to. Clee and Luzerne, are they one of those or both of them grasses? Because you can add multiple grass types now. And I think we're going to do something with that too, so you have the mower. That's definitely odor rye in front of us. I could tell by the color being different. which is pretty awesome. And that looks really good. Let's just head over to this other farm. I don't think it'll add it into every silo. I could be wrong. I might not even have to edit the map01 XML, but I think I do for the silos. We will find out in just a moment. I'm going to go over to the one down here. My PC specs. Let's see. I have a AMD 4 gigahertz, the FX 880 something series, 8700. I can't even remember, but it's the 4 gigahertz. I gotta iron out a bump there. Processor, a GTX 970 graphics card, 24 megabytes RAM, a gigabyte motherboard. I can't remember the model. And what is blocking me from going up this ramp? I have no idea. Let's try it from the other direction. Will it take it? Something's a little off there. Oh, there's something on that ramp. I messed that up. There's an invisible object over here. Let's see if it tips. Not accepted here. Alright, that's what I thought. Fix that. We have something on that surface. It's just a surface plate of the trigger. The trigger has to come down and touch the surface of the thing because there's the tip plate, because you can now tip a shovel over the top of those as well, and that's what it's colliding with. So pretty easy fix. Whoops, wrong button. Turn off the music. And turn off that. Alright, so with that, let's jump out of here, and I'll show you what I basically would have to do with this texture. The silos are all separate. They each have their own individual capacity, and they all are set up in that map01 XML file. So, without further ado, we'll show you the process that we need to do with a graphic file to make it a little bit more, shall we say, friendly for our new map. We have a foliage sorghum diffuse file. There it is. With what you will see as one growth stage here, 2, 3, 4, and withered. 5 growth stages on that. What we need to do is open up one like of the wheat. Is the wheat up here? Let's see, which one do we want to copy? That's what I'm trying to figure out. We did everything with wheat, so let's bring in the wheat barley one, which you can see has several different images instead of just the one that we're using. So it is a process, but I'm gonna zoom in. Let's see, really close to this image, and take a look at what we have here and what we have here. I'm going to try to move this out of my way, grab my rectangular select tool, and let's grab the picture off of this here from the starting, whoops, didn't mean to do that, starting part, and I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go over to this image and paste the first one into a new layer so I can kinda resize it down to the appropriate size, move it up into position so it's directly over the top. And I know there's a grid on here that I can't see, but if we get it centered up so it's right over the top of the other one, eventually, and we can check this out, you can drop out the background, see what it looks like by itself. I'm going to also paste another one in here. And actually, let's undo that. Let's copy the one that's in there and repaste it so we don't have to resize it. I'm going to put, because they're both very similar, right over the top where that one is. Paste another one in. And we're just going to use the pictures we have and kind of give us the new looking growth state for several of these. Let's see what other one we have. We want to get some of this one. This one is actually the first growth state right down here. So I think we'll be okay though. I like the way it's going to look different. Let's take this one again and paste it over to this one and make it even a little bit larger. And I'm not guaranteeing it's going to look any better or worse when we're done, but we're going to find out. But if we stay within our little areas of where the other ones are, we should be pretty good. Now we're going to move down into the much larger images right here through are the growing, and then we're into the colors of the brownish colors for harvested products. So we're going to have to make do with what we have, and we'll copy this piece over. I want to get it a little bit smaller. And bring it right on in here. Size it up. You might need to make a few little adjustments here and there, but I think that'll be pretty good. You can see there's a little bit difference between these two, but if we have something similar, you just won't see much change during some of the variation, but we can get a little bit different size, a little bit bigger here and there. They're very, very similar. Might be able to, if you wanted to go crazy, make your own images that have a little bit more leaves and stuff. But I'm not going to do that because I have enough stuff to do rather than spend forever on each of these images. So we have the 4 growing stages right there, or the 4 different, but they all look the same. Then down below, we have a interesting, very interesting looking textures. Let's go and get this one right here. The done. I'm going to grab right there and grab the done piece of sorghum and finish up copying a bunch of these over the top of the rest of this stuff. The finished product of sorghum will look very close to like that. Actually, let's undo that one. I don't want that one. Whoa. Don't need it that big. Copy and paste this one again. We're just going to utilize this texture so that we have different looking texture map. Even though they're similar, it should, well, who knows what it's going to look like. It worked okay with the sugarcane, and it will make it so that the header file knows where to look for the proper part that it's cutting. Depending on what stage it's in, the header will know to match the proper stage by the positioning of the particles in this graphic. And that one in here, and then we have what I think are, we'll make one more of those. I think there's only one withered picture up above. These are all very similar. So that there, and that's the withered one, so we'll go back over here. Actually, the withered one in this is just cutting off a, let's do this. Let's go back, and just for giggles, let's put the withered picture in and do some adjustments to the colors and give it that grayish withered look by bringing down the saturation level, and we'll use that for a withered texture. Drop out our background. Image flatten. Edit. Select everything. File, save as. I can get a new foliage sorghum diffuse.dds file if I need it back from the other map, but I'm hoping this is all going to work. So I'll replace it. DXT5, because clear background, you want it. Generate bitmaps, sounds good to me. We've created a new foliage sorghum file right here that matches a wheat barley file that we use for all our particles anyway, but we pointed it to the foliage sorghum. You might think you're done, but you're not. Alright, with that being said, let's go back to our map. And we have to open up our map file itself. Edit it with Notepad++, and make a few minor changes to the texture by searching for the foliage sublayer we set up earlier. Whoops. Spell it right so it will find something. I hit an extra key in there. Here's our sorghum. Everything is fine and dandy. Notice how our numbers that we made really big have reduced and put in line because we saved it. Well, we're going to have to make a little bit of changes to this. And that, nothing huge, but our measurements need to match closer to wheat so it looks right. Wheat is the top line. So let's take a look at, like, our number of blocks per unit is 1.5 is the default. I'm going to bring it up. We'll see what happens to 1.5. Minimum we'll bring to the 1. Max they have set for 1.8. We'll make it the same as wheat there. Our widths. Ours used to be very wide with just 4. I'm going to copy this whole section just to see what happens. We're probably going to have to adjust some of the widths during the growth states, but I'm going to use the one from wheat for width. And I'm going to also copy the heights for wheat, and we'll see what happens when we get there. If we have to, whoa, if we have to change them again. Come on. This thing doesn't like me sometimes. Scrolling around. And we have a bunch of texture coordinates, which there's definitely not that many for this. I'm going to change that around a little bit. Width variance is 0.1. We're basically making it roughly the same size texture as wheat because we copied right over the top of it. Height 0.2. Horizontal number states 9. But here's the big thing. This block shape ID section we don't have currently. And that is what gives it the shape. Notice there's several different shapes. I'm going to try it with the shapes from wheat to see what we get. If it doesn't look good, we could try the shapes from one of the other crops, but let's try it with the wheat and save that up and take a look at what we get in the map. It could be a total disaster. It could be pretty awesome. But we can look at it and decide what we want to do with it. Do we want to make it wider? Do we want to make it taller? Do we want to, you know, and then just go back and make the little tweaks that we need in those numbers based on what we see when we get in there. Or we might have just made it a complete disaster. Error running load i3D file. I did something. Terrain height at world position. Parse error in Pleasant Valley at line 2515. I did have an error that I probably removed one too many. I got to start the task manager here because the game's locked up. Let's go back into the map and see what I did on that line. I messed something up. It can happen easily. You should always back these up. I didn't, but let's check it out. 2515 is the parse error, which is right after my... Alright, so it looks like something's up with my tags there or something. Let me see what I got going on here. It would be helpful if I have a quotation mark at the end of that line. That should do it. You got it. That's what I did. It happens. Didn't quite get the whole thing. Hey, Swampy02, how's it going? Might try corn. The corn is a little bit different, but we already did the whole thing for wheat textures. We're going to see what it looks like using this for the sorghum because we based it off of wheat. with everything, so the particles and stuff should look right. I may have to scale some stuff around. You never know. Let's see if we got this loading this time. Yes, we do. No errors. Oh, we've got the radio on. Wait, I don't want to be in the train. Get out of the train. Alright. Let's jump down to our field. Of course, it doesn't hurt to check and make sure they're still in the right place. Usually they are, believe it or not. Sorghum on field 25. Coming on down. Take a look. And we never know what growth state it's going to be in either. Hopefully it's in one of the early ones so we can watch it and see how it changes and looks throughout the growth stages. It might not be. Important thing too is the way it looks at the end, so let's see what happens. It might be too bushy, it might look blocky, it might look awesome. I don't know. It's looking like it's green, which means it's in one of the earlier stages. It looks to me like it's going to be very compact. It's smaller. It doesn't look bad by any stretch of the imagination, but let's make it grow. I like it a lot better than the last one. A lot better. I don't know if you guys can notice the difference. And if anything, we'll wait until it's done growing. Let's see what stage it was in. It's in its last stage before ready, so it's not going to get any taller. We can mess with the sizes, and yeah, it looks a lot better, I think. So definitely looks a lot better. It's a little bit denser. It could use maybe a little bit more height to match the other one, but it does look. I don't even think that's that necessary. But while we're waiting for that to grow, let's go get a harvester again. Because I want to see what we get for the combine effects on the cutter. Cutter effects kinda is really the last thing. It should look correct now because it's using the correct image map. We just rewrote it. So it should select it from the right part of the image map this time around. And it should actually look like it's cutting sorghum. Let me see real quick when we attach this thing up. Come on, I can't drive. If we can distance textures, I'm going to rework. You see how it's got that funky green, light green looking over there, and it's not matching. It should match so it looks like it blends. You know? We want it to match so it blends, so when you're looking at the field, it's going to give it that funky shade, but it's not going to be that yellow color. We want it to blend right in for each of the distance map textures. And I did show you guys earlier on how to do that. It's back in one of my other videos, how to get the distance maps, but a lot of maps that I've done I never even bothered. I just left it like that. This time I want everything to be as awesome looking as it possibly can for you guys. So I'm going to take the extra steps with these crops to make them look a little better and make sure we get the distance textures so they match when you're looking at it. It's going to overall, I think, add a lot more to your immersion factor and stuff. Now if we could just get it to grow, it'd be pretty awesome. Should be done soon. I'm not so sure his numbers are right on the growth stage timer either. It seems like it takes a long time, but it still takes 1 day. It's almost like the certain stages just take longer as they're growing. But more than likely, it's probably because we have the image maps as we go. We notice how we used a lot of duplicates, so we don't see the change in between different growth stages, because we're using duplicates of them across. And I wish I could make them all look different so we had it better, but we still do have the same number of different looking stages. Just taking a little time to grow. If we have our growth stages right, I hope we do. It should be one away still. Yep, still growing. It's like waiting for paint to dry. There we go. It did grow up a little bit. Actually, I really like it. For finished stage, the height went a little bit higher. It looks a little bit nicer. I'm digging it. Let's see what we get for combine effects. Oh yeah, thank you. Buy the field. Would help if I owned it, right? And we can stop the time before it gets dark so that we can see what it looks like in the combine here. See if our hired worker can still do his job. See now how much different. Oh, the hired worker for some reason decided to putz out on me. But did you see that? Here, we'll do it manually. I don't know what the deal is with hired workers at sometimes, but did you see how cool? Look at that by the change we did. That is definitely, and maybe I can zoom in a little bit better. That is definitely our sorghum going into that combine. And right down the cutter and everything. I mean, that's exactly what changing that texture did. You know, it's pulling the image from the right place for the growth stage, and you can see sorghum in that little thing there. Yep. Pretty freaking awesome. Something we never had. That's realism beyond its belief, you know? So there we have it. A little bit of extra. I'm going to probably have to do all the textures over so we can get the right maps and the right particle effects, but it only took a little bit extra time to do it, you know? Maybe another half hour on the texture. I've spent more time on... I could do all those textures in the time it takes to do one train spline. Yeah, we're going to have it pretty awesome this time. I'm liking it. Trauma Junkie 169, thank you for the host. And thank you for joining us this evening. I might have missed the follow if you followed. My alerts aren't working very well, but we are almost wrapping up. But I just wanted to... We walked you through adding the sorghum into the map with the multifruit the way I like to do it. The way I did it keeps all of the files in the proper folders, so we can just keep adding to those same little folders, and it simplifies it. Still need the Multifruit utility because that's what's taking our information that we put in. So you need that script, but putting the fill planes into the fill planes folder, we know where they're going to be. It's easy to add to it, not have little pieces everywhere and try to piece things together. And you can do it too, I'm sure. And it's going to take a lot of work. And we've got a lot more of them to try, but when they're done, they're pretty darn awesome. I really think they've done a fabulous job with the way we're allowed to do the different textures for the headers and everything this year. It's really cool. Well, there you go, Trauma Junkie. We're here. You can catch all the episodes up to this mat and see how we're creating it from beginning to end, and helping you guys see what goes into it. While we're at it, we'll take one more quick look around the map for anybody that's new that might not have seen a lot of what's done before we call it the end of the night for the show. Just what's going on. I know we've had a lot of new viewers that might not have seen what's been going on early, but we are in my copy of Goldcrest Valley, which is now Pleasant Valley, which, as you can see, you can drive through the tunnels, and eventually, as we continue to work on the outside here, we'll open up into this whole new world. We'll do a little bit of a loop around. You'll see a lot that's not done. There's a lot more to go, and it's going to be several months. Probably my goal is March to have everything brought in, but we're starting to add little by little all this stuff in. There's a lot of things that need to be added. So we've got fields out here. This is one of the new farms, which will soon be named once I figure out what's going on. It's definitely... I gotta flatten these bumps. Make note, flatten bumps. There are some bumps in this farm lot as I expanded it and stuff. There's also probably new types of silos and stuff that will have to go in, some of them for different products, you know, the fodder lager type products and stuff from the past. You can ride on the railroad tracks. But we've got several large fields on this farm right through here. As well as, we'll take a turn here and I got to get the railroad crossing things in. A lot of details, but right now, goal is finish up my fields, grass, and trees. And then start adding all the other stuff in. Right now, currently, which may have to change in the future with plans that I have possibly coming up near the holidays. But it is currently Monday, 8 p.m., Wednesday, 8 p.m., and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Looks like I might change those, but not for another week or two. I love the Monday, Wednesday, Friday setup. That's but unfortunately, I think I might be busy one of those nights. And I think it's Wednesday that it's going to happen. So I might have to move the Wednesday show to a different night. We might have to mix it up just a little bit. You never know. Life throws you curves, you know? How did I get Goldcrest in the middle? There is, if you go to my YouTube channel, it's a process, but I did it live on the stream and walked everybody through how to create a 4X map and put Goldcrest in the middle. And you will see, you can watch, it's creating a 4X map video on my YouTube channel. It should be right before all these series videos. Yep, Eastern Standard Time, all those times. I am in New York time. So here's one of the other farms. And if you're just catching us too, the farms this time around are going to be different but equal, is what I'm shooting for. You might have an advantage at this farm that you don't have at the other, at another one, which one of them's not going to even have the straw cell barn, but there's another one that has 2 silage bunkers on it. And some of them may have more silo capacity, others may have more fields or bigger fields. Some may have animals and others may not. So but we're going to try to balance it enough so that if you're playing with a group of people, you can play farm 1 or farm 2. There's 6 different ones. And after playing it through, you might want to try it from a different perspective by switching up farms. This stream's going to end very soon. I'm just going to finish this lap. I usually do 3-hour streams. We're at now at 3 hours 10 minutes. Just giving another lap around the map. You can see what has to be done. There's a lot of it, but you can also see quite a bit that has been done. And we're working out from around the farms. There's big empty spaces in some places, and then in areas closer to the farms, it's getting developed, like over here. We can see around this farm we've got some fields and stuff built in. And yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool once it all fills in with all the new terrain. There's a lot of terrain details that are still going to be coming in with mountains and hills to fill in a lot of areas that it should make it pretty darn interesting. Fencing in certain areas will come in. It's not going to be wicked fencing, but cleaning up the railroads and forestry. And I think I'm going to do a sand test this week to see, now that we've got the fill type for sand, we'll dump some sand on the map and see if we can get a nice new sand area for the map. That's the field we marked the other day. Am I going to do a 50 follower special? Do we have a 50 follower special? I'm not even watching how many followers are watching right now. We're just going to go, and we'll be back with on Wednesday. This side is pretty blank over here still in a lot of areas. But it's because this is more of the factory city type area where we'll be up on this edge, a lot of it, as you come through. Trains, it's going to be more of the businessy type district on the way. The museum's going to be over on this side as well. And you can see that the road layout, like for the other side, has got to be lots of stuff brought in, because this area goes quite a bit. It's quite a bit large here, quite large. A lot of things are going to take a lot of time to build this up the way I want it, that's for sure. There's some water on the map. I'm not going to add any new rivers. I may add some more. Well, I'm not going to say that. We'll see what comes for space. When I get to an area where I think I want to put something, I'm developing it as it goes. I mean, we added a pond over down in this corner as well. There's another one on the other side that I kind of zipped by. You didn't see. But here's another farm up here in this corner as well. This one is the one that's not going to have a barn, but it's going to have the 2 bunkers instead for right over here, as you can see. We'll be doing a lot of work on this one very soon. And building out the fields up this way toward the other one. Yeah, we're gonna... Yeah, need a price list for putting multifruits in your edit train spline? Whoa, wipeout. That farm is so not ready. I mean, it's the beginning. So yeah, there's going to be stuff added. Give it time. This place has got so much more to fill in. Here's one of the lakes right here that we have built into the map. There's other places where I might build lakes or a stream here or there, but give it time. We've added this whole mountain range right here in over the last, well, I pretty much did this all today, early today, this whole area. Yesterday was mostly multifruit work. Um, so it's definitely coming together and definitely has a lot more to go. So yeah, you're going to have to utilize some roads and stuff. One of the things I want to do is try to keep you from cutting across too many fields, but also have it built so, it's not difficult to get around. You're going to want to use just like Goldcrest Valley is. You're going to want to use the roads. Occasionally, you might want to do one of those let's take a shortcut things, which you could, just like that. But you might end up on your roof. You never know. But yeah, taking the roads this time around is going to be beneficial. That's for sure. Got a little fix up to do on some places. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show and learned something. I gotta check the train mod pack. There's so many things going on. What would I charge? Oh, so many new things coming out and going on that we're gonna look at them, and as we're installing them and learning how to do them, I've got a pretty good handle from previous years on the basics, as you can see. Once I figure it out, and we'll do a couple of those things on Wednesday. I'm looking at we'll maybe add the chop straw in, and I'll continue offline between now and then to build up the map and the trees and add more fruits to it as well. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and I didn't make you all fall asleep in the middle. And we'll be back on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Thanks for watching, everybody.